Hello and welcome to the Wednesday, August 31st edition of Mid-Atlantic Weather Outlook. I hope to get through a lot today, so I'm going to go quick. Going to start off with a quick look at the surface analysis today. Hopefully you can see this. Here's a front that's going to deliver us the cooler air by weekend, and depending on how fast this gets here, interacts with the trough along the East Coast and what is likely to be Hermine in a little bit. Will really have a lot of play on how far west some of this precipitation gets from the system. And it's a little interesting on some of the models, but in general, a curvature towards the northeast will happen. Looks like Hermine's going to be named probably later this morning, just based on how good it looks right now. I'll show you in a minute. It's going to come up in this region here of Florida, somewhere in this bend of the panhandle here of Florida, the cross, and then it's going to come up the east coast. How close to the coast does it get? Well, there's a lot of play here. If it slows enough, maybe it gets some interaction by this front, maybe it doesn't. We've seen some flip-flops on that over the last couple of days. Okay, so we see later on today this front is slowly approaching. There's a chance for showers and thunderstorms, especially along the west of 95. There could be some along the shore as well. And then we get this moisture and troughiness happening here in the southeast. It makes sense. Heading towards North Carolina, you see what could be Tropical Storm 8 turn into Ian or Hermine if it happens to be named first. And then we have down in the Gulf here what I think will be Hermine. I think the TD8 is not doing much. TD8 means Tropical Depression 8. I still expect it may become a storm. It just looks kind of lame. All right, you see the progression of this front, so that tonight and into tomorrow morning we have the front coming through the area. Hopefully we get some rain. Looks like an enhanced possibility here up in the northern part of Maryland, Pennsylvania, and into New Jersey, Delaware. Then we get maybe it's some of the interaction because we get the storm moving to the east. We'll see here. And then the front finally makes it through. A little low pressure system wave on there. Maybe that's helping to enhance some of the rain. And eventually by Friday overnight, that front comes down here, interacts with what is likely to be a strong tropical storm. It may have just briefly been a hurricane as it came on shore. It's going to start coming up the east coast, and that's what we got to watch. How far south and east does this front get? It's going to squeeze out a lot of moisture here to the south here in North Carolina. I expect 6 to 10 inches of rain right along the coast, 3 to 4 or 5 inches just inland. But it doesn't take much long for that to drop off. And here comes the reinforcing, or the cooler air, I should say, for the weekend. And now you see that tropical storm Hermine, likely could be Ian, but probably Hermine, is now off the east coast, kind of getting absorbed into this frontal system. Again, how close is this going to be is really going to play a big effect, especially 95 and east for Saturday. I'd say keep an eye on it. Eastern Shore areas and things like that may end up being pretty wet on Saturday, and I'll show you a model depiction of that. They came out this morning. Going ahead in time, eventually we see that thing moves further northeast. There is some question as to how close this got to the coast yesterday, but it looks like it's going to be far enough out to mainly just cause a lot of surf issues. And then you see it now getting absorbed and kind of backing towards the coast. That's what I'm talking about. As these things get interacting, maybe it causes a storm up here in the northeast. And if this gets strong enough, I mean, it's going to pull in cooler air. So along the east coast, got to see how all this plays out. It's going to be a little interesting to me, just to see how everything plays out. But as of now, that storm looks like it's going to go up like this and then skirt along the coast. And then at the last second here, it may get pulled a little bit further west before it gets released out to sea, or it gets absorbed into this front off the east coast. And this is what I meant by being aware of what's happening with the weather. I mean, this is the GFS. This is the American model. This is a 6-hour precipitation plot for Saturday. And you can see, at least in this scenario, we have a 999 and a low pressure system off the east coast, kind of like a nor'easter here almost, or probably still a tropical storm or a strong tropical depression. And look at all the moisture it's throwing out to the west, or along the Delmarva, 7, 8, 9 inches of rain in about 6-hour period. It even has precipitation reaching all the way almost to the Blue Ridge, or at least the foothills here of Virginia and up into Maryland. Now, is this likely? I don't think so at this point in time, but it is something to watch. Models are showing that, and this was courtesy of Weather Bell to show you the cool graphics with the precipitation output. And actually, some of the model output shows up to maybe a quarter of an inch of rain reaching here into the foothills. Something to watch. The long-term warmer return to temperatures still looks possible or likely next week. After Monday, temperatures could get back up near 90 into the DC area, but maybe already at 90 in the Richmond area and south as of Monday. Humidity chances increase a little bit as the week goes on as well. And looking at the 8 to 14 day, again, we're going to see that temperatures remain above normal, and it's a very high likelihood that we'll see above normal temperatures. Below out to the west is interesting as well. But here's something a little bit of a change, and I guess it has to do maybe with some chances of tropical moisture getting involved. Precipitation over the next week, so through next week, looks pretty below normal. But after that, we get a chance of at least normal and even, slightly even above normal here in the Northeast. This is a change in the way it looked in the longer term. It may have to do a little bit with the possibility of maybe more fronts coming out of Canada and even interaction of Gulf moisture or tropical moisture. We'll have to see how things play out. There was a huge wave that came off the coast of Africa yesterday. They may end up being a big system. But in general, that's encouraging to me because it means that maybe it won't be quite as wet as originally thought, or dry, I should say, as it originally looked in the very long range. And unfortunately, I spoke longer than I expected, but that's it for this edition of the Mid-Atlantic Weather Outlook as of August 31st, 2016.